Hi folks, and welcome to my spoiler-filled review of Time Stories. Today we're going to go through Estella Drive here. If you want to see my non-spoiler review, I have a podcast here called Saturday Morning Sam Flange on YouTube, and it was episode 213 that I delved into it. But this is spoilers. Let's get into it. Like I told you, we've been loving them all. This one had a mature audiences label, like, ooh, what's it going to be about? And to be honest, all they do is cuss. All they do is cuss. I think Asylum and Marcy Case were way more graphic than this. So they just put this on here to maybe to sell extra copies of it. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, I think this was just made just to get new people into it. It has nothing to do with the meta story at all. This can take place actually anywhere in the timeline. And for that reason, it's my least favorite. Only because I love it. I love this game. I love this game. This is Estella Drive is good, but it's my least favorite because it has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the meta story. And at this point, after Lumen Fidei, you're like, give me more. And they don't give you anything on this. And again, I understand why. They make it after, they fashion after the, I believe it's the Manson murders there, but of course they change all the names and that's never explained. At least I can't find an explanation for why all the names are changed, because they still have the Beatles album and the Helter Skelter and all that stuff in there, and everything else is very detailed. I wasn't familiar with the case itself, the historical case, but someone in our gaming group was, and it was kind of tripping some of his wires. You know, it's like, oh, I think I remember this. Oh yeah, I think they remember saying something like this. And my wife, who's big into those murder mysteries and whatnot, she knows a lot about this case here, and so she was telling me stuff. She never played the game, but I was like, yeah, there were people on the couch doing this. Oh, how did you know that? She went, yeah, that's documented. She knew everything. She said, oh, she was at the pool and whatnot. I was like, what? We really could have used her in this because we were clueless the whole time. This one starts off in the 80s, and you're thinking, yes, the 80s. You love the 80s. There's no pop culture references here, and it's in the boring 80s. 1982. It's more like the late 70s, early 80s. And I ended up loving that because we thought, yeah, it's going to be awesome 80s. This will be one of my favorites. I really did think because of this here, because it's going to get dark and gritty, and it's in the 80s, it's going to be awesome. And they didn't really do the awesome 80s. They did the boring, ugly 80s. And then I found out that I actually like that better. No pop culture references, really, besides the case. But this is also one that has a billion red herrings in it, looking at movie posters, looking at pictures, looking at this, trying to decipher this. And it's one big trolling your fans there. And I think that's funny. Because if you think about this, we've gone through several expansions over a couple of years now. Everyone is now writing on pens and papers, trying to figure out everything, trying to be super smart. So you just add tons of red herrings for them that none of them amount to anything. I love that. I do mystery murder theater a lot, and when I write scripts, I want to make sure, because everyone brings out pens and pads at our murder mystery theaters. They're trying to figure out who done it. They're writing down all the clues, and I've done that. I've written tons of red herrings that don't go anywhere because the audience gets smart after a while, and they're on to you, and they're looking at every detail. You fooled them once with Asylum, now you'll never fool them again, right? So they said, okay, let's just troll them a lot in this and show them that not everything is a clue. Now, there's nothing new there, right? They've had red herrings in all of these, but this one, I believe, has the most, and I'm fine with that. I love the fact that you start off in the 80s, and then when they all go in the seance, you go back to the future, and it's like, uh-oh, they went back to the 60s, so now you got to go back to the 60s, the night of the murder, and destroy these three objects. And okay, great. So that's our plan. That's what we're doing. And now that you know a little bit about the past, you can kind of tell, now that you're in the past, you know a little bit about what's going to happen. We failed before, like I think everyone's meant to fail. And then there were two ways to go about it. The easy way, which we didn't know about, and then the hard way, just blasting our way through. And we did. And we were so happy we were blasting our way through. We took the ending where Bob goes, a little messy, which I thought was funny. And yeah, it wasn't the best way, but we were just so happy that we, at least had a little bit of power to get back at those people who'd been killing us so many times. And burning the three objects. There's one of them. I believe it's the knife. You're not really clear on which one it is. And I made an educated guess off of what I assumed was the right knife, and I got it right. But I didn't even realize there was a second knife that could have been in the running because my buddy had gotten it and I didn't realize it. So I was just using my knife and I was like, this makes sense because of this, this, and this. And I got it right. But again, if I would have seen his knife, I probably would have doubted myself and not known which one to pick. But other than that, it's a really fun one. It has that unique where you start off in the 80s, you got new characters, then you have to jump back in the future to jump back in the past further as new characters to solve the actual crime itself. And that was something new here. So there is something new here. Forget the mature audiences label. It's really not that mature, just people cussing. Again, like I said, my least favorite only because it does not have any meta story in it. It can happen anywhere. But like I said, my non-spoiler review, this is one that you could play at any time, even as the first one, you could do it, because it doesn't really fit anywhere in the timeline. At least I can't find any connections with it. I am far from the expert of time stories. But anyway, folks, that's it for now. Hey, come back next time. I'll review another spoiler-filled review of Time Stories.